Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Let's Talk About It. I am your co-host, Mr. William Bertice, and we're so glad because we have a special guest with us today. Before we get into the guest, we're going to introduce our co-host, Mr. Clinton James.
Yes, this is Clinton James, your local real estate broker here in San Diego. Happy 2025 to everybody. 2025 is when we're going to thrive, right? I always tell everybody where they can find me. They can find me in the corner working on my self lane and inspiring others drive right on the corner right there. So let's get it.
Yes, sir. Let's go and get it. It's that time. It's that time of the year, 2025. And can you believe we're already in the second month?
I know, man. It went by fast.
I know. 2026 is coming up soon, so we're
right.
prepared for it. But it's time to get it done in 25 because we're alive and about to fly. But I want to have Clinton introduce our guests, and I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised and happy with our guest today and today's topic.
Yeah, today we have Micheal Prieto with Affordable Housing Advocates. Now, we met Micheal through KREB, which is California Association of Real Estate Brokers, which we're members in NAREB. So, and he's coming live to us on Zoom today. So one of the things that we also have created was a great relationship. Not only good relationship, because Micheal is really good people, but at the same time too, he's been in the banking industry in terms of mortgage industry, and then he's moved over to this organization, which is a great organization that's providing affordable housing throughout the nation. And I'll let him tell you a little bit about it, but the special announcement is that Affordable Housing Advocates through Micheal Prieto is now our show sponsor. So definitely we have a great ad we're going to be playing like around 30 minutes in, because we got to pay the bills now. so I want to introduce Micheal Prieto, and he'll tell you a little bit about himself. Go ahead, Micheal.
Awesome. Clinton, William, thank you guys so much for having me on the show tonight. Really excited to be here and looking forward to our discussion tonight. So as Clinton mentioned, my name is Micheal Prieto. Not a lot of people can roll the R. It's okay, Clinton. So I have the privilege of serving as the president of Attainable Housing Advocates. And my company, we actually are an organization that's certified to administer the Hope for Home Ownership program through a not-for-profit out of Arizona called Hoper. And real excited to kind of dive into some of the details on that. Because it is a nationwide program that is available in nearly every state, and but more importantly, it's available in Clinton's backyard, and that's where we really want to try to focus our efforts in on making homeownership affordable, but not only affordable but really sustainable for the long term. Because as we dive into the show tonight, you'll hear about things that are very important to me and Attainable Housing Advocates, and I'm sure they're equally as important to Clinton. So thank you for again for having me on the show tonight, Clinton.
Thank you. Yeah, so as we dive in, Micheal, you told the people a little bit about yourself. Now, I mentioned to, earlier that in introduction that you were in mortgages, right? So we'll start there because everybody has a real estate story. So what got you into real estate, and how did you break into real estate, and how long ago was that?
Goodness gracious. So I have about almost 2 decades in the mortgage arena, 18 years, specifically a good chunk of that was in like the affordable lending arena. So we dealt with a lot of first-time home buyers, blue collar workers, first-time home buyers, and really the people we dealt with a lot with the folks that really kind of struggled and needed a good path to home ownership. And so that's kind of my background. I landed in the mortgage arena, now almost 20 years ago initially, after the military. I spent almost 6 years in the Air Force as a military police. And interestingly enough, I thought I wanted to be a cop on the outside. And, then I realized,
you have that look, man.
License and registration, please.
Right. Now you say it, it kind of, you can picture it now.
Actually, I feel like I was just too nice of a guy to be in that arena. And
gotcha.
What ended up happening is I landed in the mortgage arena, and it's been, and really, I do like the weekends and holidays off, like that.
Nice.
Unfortunately, law enforcement doesn't get. But kudos to them all out, across the nation. We love them. We appreciate them. But yeah, that's how I got into mortgages, and spent a big chunk of my career in with one lender, and then eventually branched out and found myself at most recently PNC Bank, where I got to meet Clinton and Will just a few years ago in Southern California, where we were bringing affordable lending initiatives to the community. And since then, I was essentially recruited away from the mortgage arena, and now rather than working with one individual lender, our program is designed to work with nearly any lender across the country. I mean, there's over 75 lenders currently that are utilizing the Hope for Home Ownership program to help buyers in California and across the nation get into ownership. So really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad we got a chance to connect and meet with you, because the discussion about home ownership is so important. And last week I saw someone do a presentation on redlining and how that really affected people becoming homeowners from 75, 80 years ago and before. And also, organizations like NAREB were created due to Black people could not get into the real estate business or industry. They could not become realtors, and they have to call themselves realtists, and they have to advocate that Black people can sell homes, which looking back just sounds ridiculous.
Right.
And so, when we think about real estate, there's a lot of barriers to entry from home ownership based on the system that was created. And so, tell me about your organization and what they do to help resolve that issue, or maybe not specifically resolve that issue, but help people get over the barriers to entry towards homeownership.
Yeah, great question. So, one of the barriers to entry into homeownership, of course, is the down payment hurdle, and that whole concept of, okay, I potentially need a large down payment, and maybe I'm in a position, maybe a buyer out there's in a position where they've got the down payment, or they can get the down payment, maybe a gift from mom or something along those lines. But that's the whole of their down payment. Like they're about to deplete that savings account to get into ownership, and that's really the problem that we're trying to address with this program, is the fact that so many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And as you guys know, there's down payment assistance programs. There's a lot of great ones out there. And but what a lot of them are doing is they're not talking about the fact that so many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So you've got a buyer who's living paycheck to paycheck. They get this large lump sum of money for their down payment. They get into the home, and then nobody's talking about the fact that they just continue to live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And that's problematic, right? Because you guys, in your backgrounds, that there's a concern for mortgage defaults. Like there's in the mortgage arena, we have data that shows us what's called the mortgage default bell curve. And if you were to graph it out, it would look like the shape of a bell during the first 5 years of ownership, where if you picture a graph chart and then you go up like the shape of a bell and then back down, those first 5 years of ownership are absolutely critical, because that's when typically the buyers of homes have the least amount of savings in their bank account. And the challenge is, like, okay, if I've only got less than $1,000 in the bank, and there's a life event like a job loss in year 2, guess what that homeowner now has to do? They have to make the decision of, do I make my car payment or do I make my house payment? And unfortunately, that car is going to get them to the next job, so they're going to pay their car, not their house.
Right.
And so that's where we see the default rate. But again, going back to the initial question about the barrier to entry, I think down payment is a big hurdle, and those down payment assistance programs that are out there, although some of them are very great, they have a lot of restrictions, right? Like you have to make a certain amount of income or be under a certain income level, or you have to have a certain credit score, right?
Right.
And that's where this program that we administer is completely different. It's turning the essentially the DPA world upside down on its head, because there is no income restrictions. There are no credit score requirements. There are no second liens that go with the home. There are no recourse, provisions or anything. They don't have to pay the money back. And so that's where we empower buyers to really rethink the idea of, well, maybe I should stop renting and get into home ownership.
Right. Yeah, that's great. I love what you just said. A couple of things I want to dissect before we dive into some of the recommendations or remedies that affordable housing advocates are offering for that specific issue. One of the things you said is that the habits of where you find that people who are they're living paycheck to paycheck, and then they get into the home and then they continue on the same route, which is living paycheck to paycheck. But first, before we do that, I want to ask a question. What will you classify as affordable housing? I mean, because there's so much varying definitions of it. I mean, some people say affordable housing is like the unicorn that's out there. It's hard to find, but what would your classification of affordable housing be?
Yeah. So affordable housing, I mean, the term affordable is relative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Affordable to one person may not be affordable to another person, right? And so I will just say that the company is Attainable Housing Advocates. So we're not necessarily focused on the concept of affordability.
Mm-hmm.
We're more focused on attainability. We want you to attain home ownership,
right?
But we also want you to sustain it, meaning we don't want to see that mortgage default go up. We want to reduce the mortgage default bell curve through this program. And so there's some additional things that we do as part of the program after you move into the home, which is really nice.
Okay, thanks for that correction, because I'm saying affordable housing all the time. I think it's attainable housing.
so what does that mean in your guys' concept in attainable housing?
Yeah. So attainable housing, meaning we want to give folks an opportunity to actually get out of renting and into home ownership. So that's the attaining part. Let's get you to move into that home ownership role.
Mm-hmm.
Then the sustaining part is not only do we want to get you into a home, and then we're not in a position like a traditional, unfortunately, like a down payment assistance program that's out there, where they give you the money and then they just, okay, well, we hope you perform on your mortgage. We're off to the next client. We take it a step further by creating an environment where that home ownership can be sustainable long-term, because what I just mentioned a little bit ago was that the default rate is high because people don't have savings in the bank. So with this program, they also get a mechanism that drives more money into their savings account. In fact, most participants that enroll in this program, they get an additional, on average, about $12,000 in tax credits. That's after they've gotten the initial money for the down payment help, and that's after they've gone through some post-closing financial mentorship. That's also part of the program. So we're not just giving the money and saying, okay, we hope you do a little bit, we hope you do well with your mortgage, and we hope you change your spending habits. No, we actually ask them to take a course that teaches that type of stuff. Like, let's change your spending habits. Let's put you in a situation where you can, when you get that second windfall of money, you don't go spend it unwisely. Instead, we motivate, we inspire, and we encourage the new homeowner to put that money in savings as opposed to go spend it unwisely.
Awesome, man. I like what you said, and because on top of that, one of the questions I have is that you mentioned, yes, the habits. I've always told my clients, buying a house is almost like changing your habits, right? It's basically, that's what it comes down to. Because a lot of times, especially if you're living in say Southern California and paying this amount of rent, right? Yeah. So one of the things I will say is that people have to change their habits and how they see home ownership, right? And how they actually look at home ownership, because at the end of the day, a lot of people will pay this high amount of rent, right? And do it monthly, right? When all they have to do is switch the mindset, right? To put a habit towards a mortgage. Now, the other thing is savings, right? A lot of times you'll find that people tend to actually not have a savings, not because they can't have a savings, but because most of the time they have a habit of living paycheck to paycheck, right? And at the same time too,
Clinton eggs is high, eggs is $15 a carton,
eggs are high, but you know what? The dollar store still sells eggs too. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And then we boycott. I'm going to talk about them boycotting here, but at the same time too, one of the things I look at is that there's always options and there's always cheap options. It's the convenience of it, right? And one of the things about it is that a lot of us have been programmed to always be like compete with the Joneses, right? Right. And we always are programmed to do certain things because it's the norm. Because of the narratives that are out there, right? It's crazy when we really look at the things that we pay for, like we pay for water, now we pay for air. Right. So it's crazy how things have changed now where people are actually packaging these things and selling it to us. Right. But at the same time, too, we have to understand that a lot of these things, you have to separate. In order to save enough money, you have to separate your needs from your wants. Right. And I always go through that with my clients when we do the orientation is we got to figure out your needs. What do you need right now? And what are your wants? Right. What can you live without? Right. And in terms of, because a lot of times you might want this big home, right? Because you're renting this big home, but at the same time to your mortgage, the amount of mortgage you could afford might not be the big home. But if you have a plan in place, maybe you can do like a step up situation. Now let me get to my question. So the main thing, so one of the things you mentioned this is that you are providing options for people in terms of classes to actually learn how to actually save money, learn how to put aside money. What are you? What are you seeing in terms of people actually being able to now actually understand? Okay, well, they can save that money. What is the common thing that you see that people are now starting to realize? Hey, you know what? Maybe I didn't think of it this way before. Right. So what is that thing, that common thing among all people who are in the program that you realize that they can actually save this amount of money?
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that we found as we've enrolled hundreds of participants in the program and we started to review the data is that, we can assign a home buyer advocate from our group to a client and have them work with the client after they move in, get them through their financial mentorship course. And then we can get them to a point where they're budgeting and they're like, okay, maybe we cut out the Starbucks, $60 a month. And instead of spending it on Starbucks, we throw it into a savings account. And that's a good way to like at least get the spending habits changed up a little bit. But the key to really focusing in and the participants understand this, like we're in this to get you to a point where we reduce the mortgage default bell curve, because in year 2 or year 3, when something happens, we don't want you to default on your mortgage. And so we understood that as we were working with these clients, throwing $60 in a savings account every month because you cut out your Starbucks, that it's going to take you a long time to get you to that 3 to 6 months of reserves in a savings account. And so, so that's where we, through this program, there's a mechanism that also provides an instant boost to their savings account in the form of that tax credit. And that, what we've seen with our participants, actually becomes their emergency savings. So they're less stressed during that first year of ownership because now they're motivated, they're inspired through that mentorship course, and then they get this second windfall of cash. And to your point, Clinton, one of the things that they learn in the course is you don't need to keep up with the Joneses. Just because you've got this additional $10,000 to $12,000 in tax credits coming, and your neighbor bought a new car, you don't have to go buy a new car. You're focused on savings. You're a new homeowner. Let's get that extra money that came in. And instead of struggling to get you to a point where you have 3 to 6 months of reserves, there's your 3 to 6 months of reserves instantly. And so that's where it becomes really powerful. And the participants that, the participants that enroll in the program, we survey them twice a year. We also do soft credit monitoring of their mortgage because as part of the research program, we're doing the data collection on that. We're seeing who's defaulting and who's not. And it's really, really encouraging to see and hear these participants that are excited about the fact that I'm now a homeowner and I've got $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in the bank that I'm not touching because I learned not to touch it. Super, super powerful.
I had a question about, you may have mentioned it, about the tax credits. How do they get the tax credits?
So with the program, The program really addresses three things, right?
Uh-huh.
Pre-closing education, which is part of the research project.
Okay.
Okay, if we can give them some education before closing, that's good. That's needed in a lot of situations. And then the second piece is, of course, the post-closing financial mentorship. So we're going to give them education. We're going to give them a little bit of money to get into the home or do whatever they need to with that money to get into the home. Then we're going to give that second educational course. But then we go one step further because this third step that's part of the program, this is the mechanism that not only drives monthly savings in the buyer's pocket, but it gives them access to that massive tax credit. So we introduced renewable energy through solar into the research project about a little over a year ago. And the only reason that piece was even added into the program was because of the massive tax credit. Because with the lenders that we've now partnered with across the nation, they will finance essentially a discounted solar system right into the FHA mortgage that the buyer gets when they buy a house. Which means, as you guys may know, especially in California, right? There's no solar liens, there's no solar payments, there's no UCC filings or different things that can create headaches down the road when a homeowner tries to either sell or refinance that home. So instead, they own the system outright at a discounted price, and because they own it, they get a nice 30% federal tax credit in year one of being a new homeowner. And like I said, that's how we generate the emergency savings for the buyer.
Awesome. Well, there you go. So, I mean, is that part of the 3.5% towards the home purchase price?
Yeah. So that part, that's in addition to. So
okay.
What the research project is doing is just like any research project out there, and this is what makes it unique, unlike a traditional down payment assistance program, right? Is that you don't have to have a certain income number. You don't have to have a certain credit score. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer.
Right.
You just have to get an FHA loan, right? So you get your FHA loan and you say, I want to elect to participate in this research program. And for your participation, HOPER, not-for-profit organization, is going to compensate you as the buyer. They're going to pay you a paycheck for participating in the program. And it just so happens the amount that they pay you is 3.5% of the home's purchase price, up to $13,000.
Nice.
Done before closing. Yeah.
Nice. So before we continue, we're going to play the ad that we have we partnered with Attainable Housing Advocates with Micheal Prieto, and
Prieto, you gotta roll the R.
My bad. I'll say the European way. I'm sorry. I'm just going to do it all the time. But so what we have here also in the ad, you also there's a link if you're interested in more information about down payment assistance programs. There's a link you can go to and fill out some information about it. And also we'll have some of our associates reach out to you so that you can learn more about down payment assistance programs. So we're gonna play the ad. We're gonna pay some bills and come back to you, and then we're gonna tell you how you can get and who is eligible for that 3.5% or up to $13,000 that could be used towards your home purchase. Just keep in mind. This is great information you'll want to know.
Sure, I want to know too.
Have you heard about the Hope for Home Ownership Research Program? It allows you to earn 3.5% of your home's purchase price, up to $13,000. This program is easy, and it does not slow down your home purchase or loan process. Just like other research projects, you are paid to be a part of the study. This income is eligible for use on your home purchase to cover such things as down payment, rate buy down, or even debt payoff. Spend it or save it as you see fit. Oh, by the way, the average participant also receives an additional $12,000 after closing through the Residential Clean Energy Tax Credit. If you could use up to $13,000 to help purchase a home and could benefit from an additional increased tax credit in the range of $12,000, then visit the ahagroup.org/Clinton James or call 61938-49269 for more information.
Awesome. So yeah, that's the ad, and we're gonna continue with the show. What we're gonna do is put the link in the chat, also on live on Facebook, so that people can actually click on that link. And if they had, as I said, if you need any more information about the HOPER program and the 3.5% down payment assistance program, just reach out, fill out that link, and we'll have one of the associates will reach out to you. Yeah, so back to the show now. We have Micheal Prieto. I can't roll my R's. Everybody's giving me a hard time about it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, too, we have Micheal Prieto giving us some nuggets about the Hopper program, which is an amazing program. It's not only just a down payment assistance program, but it's also an energy efficient program too. So diving into it, let's talk about who is eligible for this type of program, because this is a lot of money, right? And this is going to be very helpful for a lot of people, because what we are seeing with the down payment assistance programs is that then everyone is different, and a lot of them, especially when it comes to getting the money for the down payment assistance, a lot of times you have to jump through some hoops to get it, right? But let's know who is eligible for this type of program here, and then what are the qualifications for them to get it?
Yeah, so the program is really eligible to any buyer that's looking to get, can be FHA mortgageable. They can get an FHA loan approval through one of the 75 plus lenders across the nation that are familiar with the HOPE program now. Then that's really the only barrier to entry. Really, is, can I get an FHA mortgage approval? And some of the lenders we work with, they go down as low as even in the 500s on credit score. So we're helping 500 credit score borrowers with this program that can get approved by one of the lenders nationwide. There's no income restrictions with the program, so we get a lot of questions about like, well, do I make too much? Well, it doesn't matter for this program. I mentioned earlier, there's no first-time homebuyer requirement, so
that's big. So you don't have to be a first-time homebuyer to qualify for this program.
That's correct. Yeah, and so again, it's just really it's got to be an FHA mortgage, and that's the key. If they can get with an approved lender that works with the program, and they've got an FHA mortgage approval, they're pretty much in. There are some qualifications for the property. So the program will not work on condos, unfortunately. And yeah, for obvious reasons, right? When you bring in an element of solar and you've got an association that owns the roof, that can be problematic. So unfortunately, condos will not work for the program. And then homes that already have solar on their roof will also not be eligible for the program. And sadly, the homes that have solar on them already, they were probably solicited by, unfortunately, that kind of door-to-door industry of solar sales, and there was probably a large commission check tied to those sales, and they probably paid a lot more for that system than they would have had they gone through this program, because they do get that discounted system as part of the research project. And that's really what it's about, is if we can get you that discounted system, provide education, and then give you 2 large lump sums of money, do you perform better on your mortgage or not? And we believe that you will.
Nice. Yeah, so y'all heard. I mean, it's pretty much open up. One things I would say is that I've never seen or heard of a down payment assistance that's that open, right? So, or streamlined, I would say. So I mean, definitely reach out to us. Let us know if you're interested. We'll give you some information. Fill out that form. Informational form, and we'll send you some information or reach out to you personally. Now, the other thing too now is moving on is one of the things we always tend to talk about here is how housing is affecting, especially our communities, and the things that are in our communities that affect how we purchase homes.
Right? I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I own my home already right now. Can I get that 13,000?
Great question. We do get that often, and the really cool thing about this program is, I'll take a step back on Clinton's comment about down payment assistance. The money is great and it can be used for down payment, but we don't typically refer to it as a down payment assistance program, because that money, guys, it doesn't have to be used for down payment. We've got buyers. In fact, a lot of the folks that come in that participate in this research project, they have their down payment, but they've got a debt problem, and we can take that money and pay off their debt to get them into the mortgage. We can take that money and we can buy the interest rate down to get their mortgage payment lower, to make it a little bit more affordable in that scenario.
Nice.
We can, so we can take that money and stack it with seller concessions and buy the rate down. We can take that money. But what if you've got a buyer that doesn't need the down payment assistance? The seller's paying the closing costs. They don't have a debt problem and they still want to enroll. Where does that $13,000 that they earn for doing the pre-closing education, where does that $13,000 go? It goes right to their personal checking account after move-in. They don't lose that money. It is income to them. They've earned it and they get to keep it. So how powerful is that when you've got a buyer that, well, they've done some good things. They've got the down payment taken care of.
Right.
And to be able to get them into ownership with an instant $13,000 reserve, and they're still going to get the other tax rate down the road. So super powerful. Now to answer your question, Will, if you own a home and you do an FHA rate and term refinance, you can incorporate the HOPA program into that transaction, which means you could get the discounted solar system financed into your FHA mortgage. You agree to take post-closing financial mentorship in that refinance scenario, and then you get to pocket $13,000 that you can use to pay for your refi closing costs. You can take that money and keep it, pay off debt with it, whatever you need.
It has to be a rate and term refinance, not a cash out.
That's correct. For the FHA, for the program to fit the FHA guidelines, it either has to be a purchase or a rate and term refinance. It won't work for the cash out refinance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said it only works for single family residences.
Single family, duplexes, fourplexes, manufactured homes, all are eligible for the program.
Okay, so condos, townhomes, no.
Oh, I apologize. Townhomes, yes.
Once they can apply solar to the roof.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, and most townhomes are okay. We've closed many townhomes in California and in other states.
Man,
there you go.
I was sorry to interrupt your question because, I mean, I'll be honest, Mike. This program almost sounds too good to be true.
You know what? That's what a lot of the lender partners, when we first launched this and we have to talk to different lenders, that's the exact response we would get. Like, this is too good to be true. And after we closed, there was a lender that closed 26 loans using the program and in Arizona, and they did that in under 45 days. They helped 26 families in under 45 days. And then they were like, this is not too good to be true. We are helping families. We're providing them emergency savings. We're providing them education. It is a win-win-win. And they're loving it. We are super grateful to be connected with these new homeowners and working alongside them for them to finish their education and do some good things with those tax credits that are coming their way. So yeah, it sounds too good to be true, but it is creating waves across the nation.
So is there any cities or states you guys do not work in?
Good question.
The only states we do not operate the program in is North Dakota, South Dakota, Alabama, Alaska, and Hawaii. But every other state right now is available for the program.
Okay, sorry for y'all states.
Yeah.
So it's in North Dakota, South Dakota, Alaska, Alabama, and Hawaii.
That's it.
Okay.
So if you're listening across the nation and you're in one of those states that I didn't just call out, give Clinton a call. Give us a call. We will help you.
Awesome. Well, I'm loving the fact that I'm partnered with Attainable Housing Advocates, and I'm looking forward to actually helping as many people as we can actually take advantage of this, because I think it's very relevant right now, especially when we're talking about affordability and housing. One of the main things I've always seen is that the biggest program that I think that one of the best programs we have out here in California is the VA program. Right, and the reason why we have the VA program that's so prevalent, but one of the better programs out here is because they offer zero down payment. Right, so and everybody always asks about that, but I always tell all my clients it's like this: if you really want to show how serious that you are serious and you have some skin in the game, especially when you're purchasing somebody's asset, which is over $500,000, you want to actually show that you have some down payment available to put down, right? There's a great opportunity, a program that will help a lot of people who or in that specific situation or that niche where they need the down payment at the same time too. They qualify to buy a home, but they just don't have that amount because it comes up to usually it will come up to like 1% to 3% of the purchase price. Now that you don't get that money back, because you do get it back because you're paying down on the price of the home, which means the home is going to be going down based upon how much you put down. At the same time too, it's just one of the things where it's tough for people to come up with that, right? And then focus on closing costs too, right? So great program. One of the things we, as I said, I was about to ask is that we usually discuss things that in this program because we all go on the radio. Let's talk about it. We talk about because we see a lot of things that touch real estate, like relationships, marriage. One of the things that we always say is, and William always says it better than I do, is that we've seen that it takes two incomes to actually purchase a home, especially when you're living in California, right? So, I mean, what is your opinion in terms of how do you put it? The spouse you marry is the person that actually determines your success in life.
What do I say? Shoot.
Sorry to cut you off guard.
I'm mind blank right now.
But the person you marry is the one who's going to determine your success in life, and we pertain it to also home ownership. The reason why we always because the reason why I always actually say that is because we've seen the statistics right now, especially in our community, where we just had the Sheba report just released, which is a state of housing in Black America, which shows that single women are the highest amount of applications out there right now. And in our community, people who are buying the most homes right now are single women, right?
Yeah.
Now, nothing is wrong with that. The more home ownership we have in our community is great, but we're seeing that number that also is not really moving the needle, right? And we're seeing that the highest amount of applications that are being denied is true with single women too. So one of the things we have kind of come to kind of focus on, especially when we try to we talk about relationships here, is how important marriage is and finances, right? And how important when you're about to be married, how important it is to actually have a focus on that, because not only is your relationship about just emotional, it's also a finance part to it also.
I know what it is. I say.
Go ahead. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So aside from choosing God, the two most important decisions you make in your life is the career you choose and the person you marry. That's it, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So what's your opinion on that? What's your opinion on that in terms of what you're seeing out there too? The one of the most important decisions you'll make is the person you marry. That's going to determine how successful you are in life.
No, I mean, I would echo exactly what was said. Like that, those are all key things that you need to consider. And when we work with participants, we work with single mom, with married folks, and regardless, we're always encouraging. Like if it's a husband and wife, application that's going through a lender, and they ask us, do we have to take the educational courses together, or do you not? We encourage it to be done together because, to your point, these are major financial decisions in your life.
Right.
So if you've got one person of the household thinking saving money, let's create emergency savings, and you got another not really thinking about changing any spending habits, it could be problematic. And so we certainly support and encourage both folks in the household to come alongside each other and be successful in this home ownership journey, because it's going to take both of them, especially in a market like the California market. To your point, Clinton, about needing two incomes to kind of survive out there.
Right.
Yeah,
and even within a relationship too, even if one person has their own ideas of what it is that the future holds in terms of, oh well, you know what, or there's no discussion in terms of how they want to actually move forward and putting their finances together or moving forward financially to purchase a home, you'll find that that creates a lot of, how to put it, negative tension. Yes, a lot of tension. So one of the things that we try to encourage here is, number one, that's something that you in relationships you want to put that out there first. And we find it out, a lot of people before they get married they never really talk about that, because that's kind of taboo. You don't talk about finances in your relationship. But at the same time too, it's so important, especially right now, especially today, right? Especially today.
It's a personal question. You're asking me a personal question. We talk about my finances,
right. Right. So and we see
even to your spouse.
Exactly. Because there's some such thing as financial infidelity, right? There's such a thing as that, and that's something that a lot of people don't. Just like there's emotional infidelity, there's financial infidelity too. So I mean, they're in relationships. So what our goal is always to spread that positive, what do you call guidance? Like, because we're seeing that every single thing counts when it comes to you buying that home in California. It's not unattainable. It is attainable, right? I always say, once you get to that goal, just remember it's yours. It's your home, right? So at the end of the day, you can now do what you want with it. It's so much more freedom you get, right, in purchasing your own home. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, and one of the things about it as we as we move forward is that we see that now we're seeing that a lot of changes are happening in the housing market, especially in California, right? A lot of talk now we're talking about freeing up a lot of ways in which we can build affordable homes like ADUs, right? Have you all thought about, or are you all looking at that in terms of now being able to apply the program to say it's something as an ADU? Because I know ADUs are now being considered where you can now divide as its own individual plot, right? And so that's its own individual form. Now, have you all had any discussions on how is that going to now do change how you all do business, or is it something where you are looking into it right now?
Yeah, no, we haven't really ventured off into the ADU arena, mainly because the program fits so well with a specific loan program through FHA financing that kind of limits us. So because FHA says we can only use it with these types of homes, ADU's not in that list, then there really isn't a reason for us to venture off there. We want to get, obviously, if we can get folks to a point where they're homeowners and they've got enough room and maybe equity, and they're in a better financial position to actually add the ADUs and different things like that. I can see that being a great pathway to get to that point. But we got to get folks into homes and to have them start building that equity and taking the pride of ownership and just taking a quick step back on the whole family thing. It just made me think about like the idea that how much more stable a family can actually be by having that own home. Versus, stability, situation, right? So, man, it just really excites me to think about like getting folks into homes and putting them in a better financial position, whether that's with emergency savings, building equity to do ADUs and different, you said step up home too, like that's how my wife and I did it. Like we bought a smaller home and eventually got out of that one, but we wouldn't have been able to do what we did unless we started somewhere, right? And so yeah.
Which brings me up, because I know there's some programs out there that, hey, if we help you get this type of loan and you get this X amount of dollars, you have to stay in the house for so many years, and if you don't, you owe it back. Is there anything about this program that has that in writing or required?
Yeah, no, there's no requirement for any repayment. So buyers can refinance anytime, they can sell at any time. And in fact, because they got that, the solar was a part of the transaction, it's an owned asset at the time that they go to sell or refinance. So it's very similar. We equate that to like that of a swimming pool, right? If a buyer bought a home and then they put a $50,000 swimming pool in year one.
Mm-hmm.
When they go to sell that home in year two or refinance in year three, whatever, they're going to get value for that $50,000 pool. Now they're not going to get a dollar for dollar value typically, right? But they're going to get some value. And that's exactly how this asset that is now attached to their roof works. They pay a discounted price for the system, and then they're going to get value for it when they go to refinance and or sell the home. So it's putting them in an even better position from that standpoint. But yeah, no, there's no recourse on the money. That money is earned income. They are participating in a research project, and that's their income. That's why they get to keep it if they don't use it.
And they're saving on energy costs too, which is also a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, California, your homes are not the only thing that's expensive out there. We work with buyers in California that have like PG&E is a big bill out there. Where I've seen it be like $600 or $700 a month.
Right.
And I just can't imagine that. But with the program, we've now seen that they still pay some money to PG&E, but now it's like $200. So can you imagine going from $600 to $200 a month? And like that's huge. So
right.
Now they're with a home buyer advocate speaking to that in importance, like, look, you're now saving $400 a month because you went with this program. What do you do with that money? You don't need to keep up with the Joneses, like Clinton mentioned earlier in the program. Like, save that money. Oh, and then again, you're getting that tax credit anyways, but let's build up your savings. Let's put you in a far better equity position when you do go and sell and you've got some assets in the bank.
So
super exciting.
So I have a question. We got less than 10 minutes left. So the generation where we have today, we're talking about less people buying homes just because of the barriers to get the home is just a little harder.
Right.
Which in turn, what I've seen and what Clinton has seen is kind of turn people off into the goal of home ownership. How are you guys working with the mindset with today's clients or today's generation when it comes to the goal of home ownership? My parents had the goal of home ownership. They got it. Took them a year or two to save. Got it. My friends and their families, same thing. But it seems like this generation does not think, at least in California, it's not attainable. So what is your message to those individuals and families who may have in the back that they want to own a home, but just don't feel like it's attainable for them?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably just encourage them to reach out to a trusted advisor, and Clinton James is a great resource out there in California. Will, you're a great resource. You have a lending background as well. Like, reach out and ask questions. Like, there's something there that's, I think, has triggered a thought in their mind that it's not attainable, but yet maybe they've heard too many programs they're not qualified for, or maybe they think that, well, I have to have a certain credit score requirement, or they still think maybe a little old school that they have to have 20% down. Like, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that we see online in today's world kind of pushes those folks into thinking that way. Like, oh, this doesn't work for me. Oh, I don't have that much saved. Oh, I won't work for this program. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there that when you have a mortgage, practitioner in your corner, working with you alongside, like Clinton James and his market, like you have a Clinton and you have a mortgage practitioner that knows about these programs. All of a sudden, that attainability gate opens. It's like, oh, wait a minute,
right?
Like, maybe I can get into something. And so I would just encourage them to talk to people. And we used to say in the mortgage world, where we wouldn't encourage buyers to go like talk to their Uncle Bob that's sleeping on the couch. Like,
right.
That guy is not going to be the mortgage professional that they ask the mortgage questions, right?
Right.
Like, they need to ask a trusted advisor in the arena.
Right.
And, that's what I would say to that.
Right. Yeah, because everybody, from what my experience is that everybody gives people information based upon their personal experience. And what I've seen, and especially with real estate is that ever evolving market, right? There's so much information. Like just last year alone, we added 60 new contracts based upon the past legal situation we had. to real estate. So I mean, real estate is ever changing, right? And then laws were just passed last year that will actually help not only just people attain our homes, but build more homes, right? So just being knowledgeable about that. I tell everybody, if you have a thought about home ownership, it's just like going to the doctor. Now there's a little bit of a problem, right? Is how do you get from that thought? Because everything starts with 2 in your mind, which is no, 1, starts in your mind, then you have to put it into action, right? And that's reality. So I also everybody's like this. If you have a thought about home ownership, the first thing you need to do is you can do your own research. I mean, there's a ton of access, especially online, and information online about homes. You can even search for homes online, right? You don't even need a realtor. But at the same time, too, the information that might not be as up to date, because what especially me as a real estate professional today, a real estate broker today, I pride myself on, I try to differentiate myself in the market, is information, access to information. I go to all these different seminars where I sit down and I hear all these analysts and the economists and the intellectuals talk about real estate, and to tell you and to try to forecast what's going to happen in the future, right? So what I have to do is I have to dissect that information and see what's applicable to my business, but also to the client itself, right? So when I sit down with a client, it's not just we're talking about homes. We're talking about, number one, how can we reach your goal? The first thing is to set up a plan, because it's like going to the doctor. You go to the doctor with a headache. They don't give you aspirin and just tell you, oh yeah, take 2 aspirin and solve the problem. Because that headache could be a bigger problem, right? On the surface, it's a headache, but it could be the first thing they're going to do is diagnose you. Right. So when they diagnose you, they get an understanding of, okay, well, what's happening. And then they'll give you the prescribed solution. So it's just like with what the lender is going to do. I always say, talk to a lender, right? When you ask for information, the first thing I do is make sure that, hey, are you in a financial position to even start looking, right? It's okay to look. Right, but are you in that financial position to start looking? And that's what's going to, you be in talking with the lender doesn't mean you're going to buy a home right away. This is not a quick sale. You understand? This is something where, number one, it's a start. It's like you're talking with your financial advisor who's going to tell you, hey, you know what, this is where you're at, but we need you to get here. And these are some of the things you need to do
before
to
you
get
can
here.
Get that girl, you got to say hello first.
Right, exactly. So this is what I always say. It's like you have to start with the introduction first. You got to make sure that you break the ice, right?
There you go.
So I mean, so that's kind of like what buying a home is today, right? It's more of coming up with a plan and coming up. I mean, now you got to switch it as it's an investment strategy now, right? Because I always say buying a home today is not just like how our parents did it. It's not. It's totally different today. You understand? Our parents actually worked. They graduated college. Some of them even graduated college. They just graduated high school, got that job, and as soon as they got the job, they were able to qualify to buy a home, right? Yeah. So and live in the suburbs. Now it's a little bit different, right? Because okay.
By the way, the parents got the mortgages at a 17% rate, 15%.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Now it's exactly.
So, I mean, if you actually think about it, rates are still historically low.
Right.
Yeah. It's just that the house prices are just crazy high.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I would say ask the right people the right questions. That's basically what it comes down to. And definitely reach out to any one of us. We'll actually point you in the right direction of where you can get those questions answered.
So Michael, we have less than a minute left. So what's the one thing you want our listeners to know? And then again, how can they reach you if they're interested in your program?
I would just, again, just want to make sure that they know that there is an amazing assistance program out there, more of an incentive program, right? That gives you access to this money across, 45 states. So regardless of where you're listening today, I would encourage you to give Clinton James a call. The link is on the site there, and fill out that form. We'll get in touch with you and just kind of walk you through the options. And if you're working with a realtor there and across the nation, great. You're working with a lender, great, no problem. Let's get connected with them and see if we can help you with this awesome program. That's what I would say to folks.
Awesome. Mike, man, this program is excellent, and thank you for your time and doing the show. We really appreciate the information you gave and your energy and your sponsorship and all that. It means a lot. And again, don't let where you're at today prevent you from the opportunity of becoming a homeowner tomorrow.
Yep.
It takes anything that's worth having takes time. And guess what? 5 years is coming anyway. 10 years is coming anyway. If it takes that long, it takes that long, but at least be a homeowner by that time. So, Mike, thank you for joining our show.
Yeah.
Don't just hang up yet. But to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Clinton?
Yes, and to our listeners, if you want, look out for that link in the chat. If you want any more information, just click on that link and fill out a form, and we'll get back in contact with you.
All right.
Peace.
We'll see you guys same time, same place in 2 weeks. Until then, peace. We out.